Alright y'all, welcome back mamas, and in today's video we are going to talk about labor and delivery. So I'm going to give you guys basically a backstory. I have two sons. I have a son named Caden, who's my oldest. Caden is 7.5 going on 6, and I have a son named Cameron, who is my youngest. He is 6. He's 5 going on 6. So pretty much, disregard my forehead. I know I'm missing bronze. I just like literally cut this part of the lace off, so just ignore that really quickly. But long story short, so I'm gonna just give y'all the backstory. So when I had Caden when I was 19 years old. So I had him at 19. Caden's labor was like, oh my god, it was so long. First of all, I went to the hospital. I don't even remember why I went to the hospital. I thought I was in labor, but I didn't really know. And at the time when I was having Caden, my mom was away in Connecticut for work. So like it was literally just like me, first baby, didn't know nothing. I know she was like, okay, we'll just go to the hospital. So I remember I called my best friend over. So me and my best friend, I think I did laundry and stuff. I did laundry. I think I did bring like my delivery bag with me at the time. So I had that with me. And basically I went to the hospital. They checked me. They admitted me. I think I was like a couple of centimeters. I don't remember. I might have been like 3 centimeters or something like that. Now y'all, it's been a minute, so I don't really remember everything. But I remember them telling me like, you know, we're gonna keep you in the hospital basically. You know, you're gonna have the baby today. So boom, this had to be at maybe like 2 something in the afternoon. Now I was in the hospital for a long time, but I'm gonna give y'all a disclaimer. I was not in labor super long. I think Caden's labor maybe was like 6, 7-ish, no more than like 9 hours of labor. So I just noticed me so far with my 2 kids, I do have a history of like I don't labor long. So just that's a little disclaimer for myself. Now if I have a 3rd baby, I don't know how it would be, but for these 2 I didn't labor long. So anyway, we were in the hospital. Their father came eventually, I think like an hour or so later. Once I got settled, they came. So they basically checked me to see, you know, like how I was progressing, how I was dilating and stuff. For some reason I got an ultrasound. I don't remember why I got an ultrasound, but I did get an ultrasound. I don't know why, but I got an ultrasound. And then they were telling me like, yeah, the baby's gonna come. So my water did not break too. So that's another thing. My water didn't break at the time. So I remember them either, this is where it gets a little foggy. I believe either I got the epidural before my water broke, or even they broke my water. One of the ways like that. So basically, they kept telling me like, okay, well if you want the epidural, you have to get your epidural now because the anesthesiologist, I guess something was happening and he had like a scheduled surgery or some shit like that. I don't really remember what happened. It was like kind of like what the fuck. So anyway, so I was like, all right, I want to get the epidural because I don't want to not get the epidural and then damn, I can't get it. Not knowing if you get the epidural too early, y'all, it's basically going to wear off. So it won't be as strong, if that makes sense. So anyway, so I get my epidural. I'm scared as shit. They tell me I can't have nobody in the room with me. I was like, the fuck? Great. So I'm crying. Me being the baby that I am, I'm always crying. I'm crying hysterically like, oh, I'm scared, I don't want to get the epidural or whatever. So I'm crying, and my nurse was also pregnant, so I was like holding on to her for dear life. She was so sweet. I was holding on her for dear life. The needle was like so big, but basically they numb your back, and then the needle they insert it into like your spine, and they tell you, you know, like you cannot move. They let you know, like, you know, if I think if you make any movement or whatever, like you can get paralyzed. Basically, you know, the epidural is gonna numb you from the waist down, so you don't feel any, you're gonna feel pain, but you won't feel it as intense. So boom, I get that. I get back in the room. I think even my water broke or whatever happened, they insert the catheter in me. So a catheter, basically they insert it in you so that you can't use the bathroom. Like it's gonna come out in your catheter if you have to use the bathroom or whatever. So yeah, so I mean, I was still able to kind of move my legs. It wasn't like super numb, like right away I couldn't move, but eventually it did go numb. And I did get the contractions. So eventually my contractions definitely came on. I was like, oh my god. Now mind you, now my cousin, who's like my aunt, was there. Love her. She's like, oh, she's amazing. I love her. So, you know, she's there. She's like the boss when it comes to the whole labor. It's like when she's there, like we're gonna have a baby or whatever. So my grandmother comes, my great grandmother at that. My stepfather's there, their father is there, my best friend is there, his cousin is there. So like I kind of had a lot of people in my room. And oh my fucking god, my grandmother, as the contraction is getting worse, she wants to talk to my stepfather about like weird stuff on the phone. I'm getting an attitude, I'm going off, I'm just so annoyed, I'm going off at everybody. So clearly when I'm in labor, I like to be very quiet. I don't want to talk. I'm like, when I'm in pain, I don't like to talk. That's just me personally. Like, I don't want to talk to you guys about anything. Don't talk to me. So boom, we're getting ready to have the baby. So my kid's father, he's like scared and wants my grandmother to take his place in the room. He's like so scared and terrified. My cousin's like, no, you're gonna be in here, we're about to have the baby. So we're getting ready to have the baby. My fucking doctor was a pain in the ass. He wants to talk about sports, I guess, to kind of keep my mind off of the pain, but he was like pissing me off. He wants to talk about sports. I'm in pain. I'm like, I just don't care what you're saying. I was so mean. I was like, I don't care what you're saying right now, sir. Like, I'm in pain. I don't want to talk about this. Oh, eventually, like, I felt like my episode wore off because that shit was fucking hurting. Them contractions were coming. But I will tell you, if you're scared or if you're about to give birth, honestly, giving birth is not even the crazy part. It's literally the contractions. That shit hurts so bad. So anyway, so I'm pushing. I had the baby. At first, I'm like, I can't do this. I'm crying. They're like, no, you can do this. They're like, if you cannot do this, we're going to have to give you a C-section. My cousin's like, no, you can do this. You're going to be able to push. So boom, I was able to push the baby out. For some reason, well, I tore, so of course, you know, you tear down there. I had to get stitches. I didn't feel the stitches after that either. I will say though, I don't know if this was just because this was my first baby. For some reason, when I had my son, because I don't like to say I had postpartum depression, because I did not. But I did not want to hold my son right away. Like, you know how some parents, like, they want to hold their kids right away? I did not want to hold him. I just feel like it was so much that was happening to me, and I was just like literally trying to process it, that I was just like not ready right off the bat. Eventually I held him, but right when he first came out, I did not want to hold him for some reason. So I will say, if you go through that, it's super normal. It happened to me, so don't feel ashamed, don't feel alarmed, because it did happen to me. But they will like have a nurse or a doctor or whatever come and talk to you about postpartum depression, make sure you're okay, and stuff like that. So that was just my epidural labor. So really quickly, that's how it went. Now when I tell you about my son's Cameron birth, which was natural, it was like complete opposite, which is so crazy. So boom. Oh, and Caden came at 39 weeks, so he came a week early. I will say he probably came early, like if you know you're intimate and stuff, like of course, you know, it does kind of speed up the process if you do want to give birth a little bit faster. It definitely helps. So that's probably why Caden came early. So Cameron came at exactly 40 weeks. Cameron came on his due date when he was supposed to come. He came. So let's go into Cameron. Oh, and also with Caden came at, I think, 3 something in the morning. So Caden came early in the morning. I guess for me being in labor so long, I pushed him out at like 3 something in the morning. I think like almost 3:26 or 3:30ish in the morning. So that was Caden. So now let's move on to Cameron. So like I said, Cameron came on his due date. I remember I went to the doctor for my checkup, and literally as she was checking me, I was telling her, I'm like, yeah, I'm like, I think I was kind of leaking a little bit. She's like, what? She's like, why didn't you tell me that you think you was leaking? I was like, I just thought it was like, you know, discharge or nothing. So what happened with Cameron was, my water didn't break, but I was like kind of leaking fluid, which it just helped that I had that appointment and she checked me, because that's when she noticed. So literally as she's checking me, boom, my water breaks as I'm getting checked. I'm like, oh my god. And I remember with Caden, I didn't experience my water breaking naturally, but with Cameron it did break when she checked me. So basically she's like, okay, well, do you want me to go to the hospital now and we go get ready? I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna go home. Now mind you, I wanted to go to a different hospital. I wanted to go to the same hospital I had Caden. So my doctor for where I was seeing for Cameron was for a different hospital. So I'm like, no, I'm gonna go to such and such. She's like, okay. So boom, I go in the car. I remember my grandfather took me to this appointment. So I go in the car. For some reason, on the way to my house, bitch, the contractions just started coming, and they came so hard. I'm like, oh my god, no, this is not happening. So he's talking to me. I'm so annoyed. He's telling me to like put a towel down so I'm not leaking all over the seats. I'm like, I'm not gonna leak, you know, whatever. I have a pad on, whatever the case may be. I get in the house. Now this time around, my mom was there. So I'm telling her, I'm like, oh my god, it's like we're about to have a baby. Like my water broke or whatever. So I'm in so much pain. Oh my god, like the labor happened so fast. Like it was happening so fast. Like literally my mom had to call the ambulance because I was in so much pain. I was like, oh my god. So we're riding in the ambulance going to the other hospital I wanted to go to. It was so bad. I'm like, no, I'm like, I have to go to the nearest hospital. I feel like I'm about to like, I'm in so much pain and I feel like I had to poop. So everybody who has a baby, they know when you feel like you're about to poop, basically it's time. So I felt like I had to poop, which meant like it was time for me to push. So as soon as I got to the hospital, they checked me. I'm like, okay, I want the epidural. I'm in so much pain. They're like, no, ma'am, you cannot get the epidural. You're going to get ready to have this baby now. They're like, you're already 8 centimeters. So I was so far, like I started basically dilating so fast from me being at the doctor's office. I don't remember how many centimeters I was at the doctor's office. So I'm sorry, I can't remember. But it wasn't that high. Like it was probably in a lower percentage, but when I got to the hospital, I was already 8 centimeters dilated. So they're like, no, you cannot get it. Like, you have to push. So I'm like, what the fuck? The contractions were so bad. I remember kept saying, like, can I please just stand? Like, for some reason, when I was standing, I felt like the contractions wasn't as intense. About time we got in the bed and stuff, I want to say it happened so fast. I probably was in that bed for like 10 minutes. It was time to push. So when I tell you, okay, the biggest difference is epidural versus non-epidural. You feel everything, like literally everything. With Cameron, once again, I tore for some reason. I tore. I guess I'm prone to tearing. I tore, but I will say with Cameron, it was a lot faster. Like I felt like I was able to push him a lot quicker and he came out faster. Kaden, it took me longer, but also Kaden was my first baby, so maybe that's why. Like I kind of knew, but Cameron definitely came out faster. I did tear, so when I got the stitches, I did feel it. It did hurt more, like when they was pushing like on my stomach to get the afterbirth and stuff out. I do feel like it hurt more. Another big difference was recovery for Cameron. I felt like was way faster. I remember honestly after I had him, I went to the supermarket when I came home to cook spaghetti. Like I was craving spaghetti. I stopped at the supermarket, I cooked spaghetti. Like I was like up. I wasn't in as much pain. With Kaden, I was in a lot of pain. I had like hemorrhoids and stuff. I was in so much pain with Kaden. I don't know if it was because I was my first baby, whatever the case may be, but I was in way more pain with Kaden than I was with Cameron, which is so crazy because it was a natural birth and I wasn't in that much pain. And I was able to like just move and do way more things. So I would say definitely keep that in mind. It was nice. I think my baby was way more alert. I feel like Cameron was way more alert than Kaden. I feel like Kaden was like a little bit more lazy, probably because of the drugs. I don't know if this is true or not. This is just, like I said, my opinion off of my experience. But overall, I think it's just so crazy. And people ask me all the time, do I want to have more kids? Yes, I do want to have more kids. If it's up to me, I want to have like 2 more. Like how I had Kaden and Cameron kind of back to back. I would love to have the next 2 like back to back, or maybe space them out like 2 years apart the most. So I would definitely do that. Do I think I would have it natural? If it's up to me, probably not, because the pain from them contractions was ridiculous. I know I can do it, but I don't want to do it natural again. I would definitely get an epidural. I know. Oh, one thing I will say though about the epidural, my back has been fucked up ever since. Ever since I had the epidural, my back has been messed up. So that is something you do have to deal with. But you know what? I was in so much pain. It's okay. I will take it again. And yeah, that's it. Just for like my comparison of the epidural versus the natural birth, my opinions, how I felt about it. Comment down below if you had kids, what did you have? Also let me know if you felt like if you had a natural birth, if you do feel like you was way more alert and active versus having an epidural, if you did have an epidural, because I would love to hear like other moms' opinions about that. And if you have any questions, definitely comment down below. I'm always answering questions. I always respond. And just let me know if y'all would want to know more about like the whole process, or like a in-depth story time of which birth. Like, do you want to hear a longer in-depth story time of like when I had Kaden with the epidural, or more in-depth of Cameron with the natural birth? Definitely comment down below, because I would love to go into more details. And like I said, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And definitely stay tuned for more mommy content. And I will see you guys in the next one. Later. High fashion, like Goya, G-Wagon, or the Rover. I put some ice on you.